Over $500 million was liquidated from the crypto market in the first 60 minutes of the market open today. And maybe all of the selling is because of GTA 6 pre-orders. What is good, Lottery Stocks fan? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you are new. Last night, Micron reported earnings and they absolutely smashed earnings. Shout out anybody who jumped on calls with me for Micron earnings, as that was over a 180% gain, especially seeing that these contracts were pretty pricey. That was a pretty beautiful gain for Micron. Now, Micron's up only 10% today after everything is getting smashed and slaughtered this morning. Micron was up almost 20%, surpassing Meta's market cap along with Tesla's market cap. Now, I'm going to talk about some charts, but because of this, SanDisk also got their price target raised by Citi from 2,000 basically to 2,500, and we've seen prices being raised on all of these chip plays and these memory plays in the past couple of weeks. However, most things are on what some people would call a fire sale today. And concluding this segment of the video, Apple is raising its prices of their Macs along with iPads due to soaring chip costs. Now, what is going on today? What is happening with these markets? At the end, a little bit later in the video, we're going to talk about AMC and GameStop and another play. So continue to watch. Like the video. I appreciate it. It is completely free. I want to tell you to subscribe, but apparently subscribers don't matter because YouTube is literally just removing people from my subscriber list. So that's cool. Double check that you're subscribed. Now, the first thing I'll state is markets on watch for intervention as yen weakens to near 2-year low against the dollar. USD JPY is at historical levels, and as soon as that spikes down and Japan intervenes, we might get hit hard. And I think we're seeing the first signal of this across the board, and we're seeing it once again in crypto. Ethereum is making its way sub 600. It's now at 1,563, down 3.46%. And my target has been a wick down to that $1,400 level. We are getting dangerously close. Bitcoin doing the same thing. In fact, breaking its lows from June 5th down to 59K, so sub 60K. And it is getting very close to one of the bottoms that I anticipated, which is 57,500. As a possible wick. But of course, you do have that 56K, 54K, 48K as possible bottoms. Now, this is an important picture, right? Because we do expect one flush down, and that is being confirmed today so far. But that's right around the corner. The fact that we are expecting one flush down, you can kind of prep for a market bottom. I think it is absolutely stupid if people are not buying Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. I don't give financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. That is not financial advice. That is my personal opinion. I think buying Bitcoin under 60K is an absolute no-brainer, and that is what I am doing. I'm buying other cryptos as well. Specifically, if you want to know specifics, get in the Discord server. But the SPY, I want to talk about the SPY and a possible scenario that can happen. SPY is rejecting off of 741. It doesn't look like we're going to reclaim that. We're getting an ugly cluster of candles, a confused market with increasing volume on the downside and decreasing volume on the upside. It's not only an indecisive market, but it seems as if we are seeing heavy resistance on the SPY. There's no reason to be bullish above 760 anymore, right? There's no reason to be bullish up to 760 or to 780 or 800. Unless this AI bubble continues to fly higher, in which case we won't really tell until towards the tail end of Q2 earnings that get reported for these markets, because right now that is what's technically driving some of this market. Now, alongside all of that, we are seeing what I would argue is a head and shoulders pattern on the SPY. If you don't know what a head and shoulders pattern is, it's pretty much you see shoulder, head, which is a higher peak, and then another shoulder. It's not the prettiest pattern. In fact, you could argue there's a diamond pattern here or some other pattern that shows a cluster of candlesticks, and both are technically bearish, but one you look for a breakout one way or the other and it could be bullish, and then one is just kind of bearish, which is the head and shoulders pattern. So based on the volume, based on the clusters of rejection, I go with the head and shoulders pattern. Now, in order to map out how head and shoulders pattern is going to play out for all of the people who don't understand technicals. Here's a quick lesson for you. You want to measure from basically the peak of the head to one of the necklines of the shoulder. So when I say neckline, it's basically where the shoulder builds a base, where the shoulders build support. And you can see that on both of these shoulders, that's pretty much where we ended up building support, and we're at that right now. So this would be a good entry point in my opinion. But so let's take a look at it, and we'll be a little bit conservative. We're not going to take the top of the wicks, but we're going to take relatively close, right? So around that 759 area, right to the neckline. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect, but if you come and you take a look at it, that brings us right into this range, this box that I have down here, which is between 711 and 704 on the SPY, which I believe something could play out like this, where we see one major flush down and break of this ascending support level, retest of this ascending support level, which would make a resistance, and then a sell off towards 714, 711, possibly 704, depending on how bad it gets. But also that would not only break the support from back here for the beginning of the year that was built, but it would actually retest the support from the ceiling that was built, right? So we would have the secondary support level, which would make sense for the SPY to come down actually into this box and rebuild off of this level before climbing higher. It would just make sense, especially with all the turmoil that we are getting. Now, that is my prediction. It doesn't have to happen that way. That is just what I am predicting. Now, many stocks are getting hit. I want to talk about HIMS very briefly because we did wick below this ascending support. But now, as you can see, we're trying to hold it on the 4-hour. We're only down 3.8%. I recently talked about HIMS around 25 bucks and said that this thing is due for a move higher, and we rallied all the way to up to almost 36 bucks. And I think it's definitely one to continue to watch and keep on your radar. Not necessarily saying that it will continue higher, because you could argue there's possibly a rising wedge here, watching for a break to the downside, especially with the scenario the market's in, but definitely one to keep on your radar alongside a couple others that I recently mentioned. Wendy's is even getting hit. Wendy's is down 6%, 7% after being up 10% this morning, which is interesting. And this is a perfect segue into our short squeeze plays. But if you haven't yet, guys, make sure to join the Discord server. Top 2 links in the description of the video. I don't say it enough. Just kidding, I probably do. Now, what happened? We talked about this as a possible catalyst. If you joined the live stream yesterday, we talked about a couple of things. And one of them was the possible catalyst of AMC completing its direct share offering, or its dilution offering, that it announced the other day. So in the filing, when we covered it, we talked about how AMC specifically stated this is likely to complete on June 24th, and it was completed June 25th today. Instead, you can see AMC Entertainment Holdings Inc. announces closing of $200 million registered direct offering of common stock. This is pretty good. I mean, it got bought up, and Adam Aron basically spoke on this saying, hey, you know, this increases our cash position, and now we don't have to really worry about 2027. In fact, not only do we not have to worry too much about 2027, but this also allows us to upgrade some theaters. And now our next kind of headwind as we figure things out is 2029. That's the plain English version of this. AMC has a lot of lenders. It has a huge debt load, debt burden, and they basically just tried to push it out a little bit longer while trying to strengthen the business and pay off those loans a little bit faster, right? But again, the way they're doing it is diluting your holdings of the company, which is not something that we necessarily want. AMC is down about 10%. It's trading at $1.81, which is actually a historical support level. As you can see right back here, it built this support June 1st all the way to June 9th. It built a little bit of support here, and it also tested it as resistance back in late April, and then early May as well. And you can see these levels right here. This is a better chart and representation of the levels that I had on the chart. We smashed below 220. We couldn't hold it. And obviously that is because the share offering was at 210. Nobody's buying the stock above 210, smashed directly to below 220. And right now, everything is selling off. Now, if you look at AMC, not from a percentage-based sell-off and you don't look at it, hey, it was just down 26%, I'm going to freak out. Hey, it's down another 9%, I'm going to freak out even more. And instead, you look at it on the macro perspective with a higher high, higher low sort of setup. You see that AMC is still very well respecting its trend. And maybe Adam Aaron did dilute into a run up, but maybe this point of interest is going to just cause us to gap up higher, right? We now have excuses for AMC and GameStop to run, but we're waiting on the USD JPY to spike down like we saw back in May, in my opinion, for some sort of move going forward. Now, as far as AMC goes, from another technical perspective, if we're looking at the weekly, we saw a very oversold RSI below the 30. What happened after that? Well, we climbed about 250% all the way up to about $3, and then we got smashed right at the oversold level, right around the 70. Or overbought level, right around the 70. My apologies. Now, what's happening is we're coming right back to that 50, which is hopefully going to hold AMC's trend. We want AMC to hold this level at $1.81, and we want a bounce off of the 50 on the RSI with the MACD to continue to oscillate green volume with more volume increase in AMC's chart. This is best case scenario, and on top of that, AMC's institutional ownership has increased. We got a little bit of data for the month of June, and we can see an increase in institutional ownership all the way from June 1st basically to now, June 20th, right? Institutions are buying more AMC, and they're not just buying more AMC, they're buying more GameStop. We've seen during the same period a large increase in institutional ownership in GameStop as well. We haven't seen this increase since pretty much earlier this year, and the same thing goes for AMC. We actually haven't seen this increase again since about February of this year. Hang on one second, I gotta turn this alarm on. Okay, apologies about the alarm. Carrying on, GameStop is also breaking down with everything else. It broke below this sort of ascending support level that we were holding for quite some time here. Now, sure, you do have the risk to now dropping lower, but it's very unlikely. The reason I say it's unlikely is because if we see our theory play out correctly, then GameStop should go up. Same thing with AMC. We're also in a point of interest based on our cycle patterns and our technicals. We can see back here, this is a similar point of interest, similar lineup that we have. Both of those point towards a move higher, but also GameStop has enough cash on hand right at these levels to initiate a buyback. Short sellers don't want to bring this thing deep into this range because GameStop already approved themselves for a $2 billion share buyback. Nobody, if they're shorting, wants that to happen, especially at super cheap levels, right? We basically got a preventative filing that was already approved for GameStop to say, hey, F you if our price drops too hard. That's why you see everything across the board crash and burn, but GameStop's only down 1%. It's a beautiful thing to see. On top of that, GameStop filed a Form 425, and it showed no increase or no change in exposure to eBay common stock, at least for right now. But yeah, Ryan Cohen did just go on another interview. I showed you some clips yesterday from that. It was a good interview. If you haven't seen that, go watch that now. Okay, this is AMC's chart. We have two charts overlaid over it. Guess what the charts are? One of them is GameStop. Guess the other one. Go ahead. It is BlackBerry. BlackBerry, GameStop, AMC. BlackBerry's been one of the basket stocks. And sure, you can argue, well, BlackBerry has recently had different fundamentals. They're shifting the business. So has GameStop. I mean, GameStop's sitting on a ton of cash. It hasn't moved. If we look at these charts, you say, holy shit, lottery stocks, these look like the same exact charts, right? Same exact charts since 2014. How can this make sense? They all flew in January. They all flew again in June. They all sold off and bottomed out in April of 2024. They all spiked higher, right? They all sold and hit bottoms in March. I mean, a lot of stocks did, but, and then from there, what happened? AMC rallied 250%. BlackBerry, well, not GameStop, we'll talk about that in a second, but BlackBerry, coincidentally, right? 250%. Wow. What's happening with BlackBerry? Well, they just reported earnings, beautiful catalyst, putting them up 23%. So you can take this one of two ways. Either BlackBerry is going to come crashing down very quickly. I don't know why that would be the case because BlackBerry is doing very well. Or, hey, more likely scenario, based on everything we provided that lines up, AMC and GameStop are going to have a catalyst with it and move them with it. right? And this is the recent chart just to show you that and showcase BlackBerry's. I can't even speak. What the? Somebody clip that. BlackBerry's flying higher. Recently sold a little bit, right where AMC, right what AMC is doing, and then flying back up, which would put AMC right at a gap fill up to 276 or even higher, back up to 318, 276, 318, right? GameStop hasn't moved. This is a cycle delay, and you're seeing that it's a cycle delay, right? Why are we seeing that? Well, because this is not lining up, right? This is not lining up. It's not lining up with the point of interest for now. And a lot of times we see these cycle delays, especially in GameStop. I mean, look at this. This is a cycle delay right here. There's nothing going on. Nothing at all. This is also a cycle delay, in my opinion. This ugly move is the same as this ugly move, right? We're seeing a delay. But BlackBerry showing us, hey, get ready. And I just coincide that. I kind of align that with everything that we have that we're watching and looking for. Overall, guys, that is what I got for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed watching or found value out of the video. I appreciate all the love and support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video on your way out, and join my Discord server, along with getting my custom pattern detection indicator. If you want to stick around and hear what these indicators in my Discord is about, stick around. I love you all. God bless. Lottery Socks out. If you want access to everything I personally use each day, check out my Discord server below. In there, I post pre-market setups before the market opens, alongside posting my trades as soon as I take them, and that includes long-term investments as well. In the server, you will also find AI-powered alerts like market news, trade ideas, insider trades, dark pool trades, option sweeps, high success trade flow, and more. You also get access to your own personal slash commands every single week, my very own short squeeze channel, crypto talk channel, and more. If you guys want all of these tools and are ready to level up your trading journey, come join the other hundreds of members who are currently creating generational wealth for themselves. And if you're wondering what indicator I use to find most of my setups throughout the day, it is my very own custom pattern detection indicator. My indicator automatically identifies chart patterns and helps me spot potential breakouts much faster, alongside giving me a target for the specific breakout. This indicator is nothing like you've ever seen before. I will leave a link down below. Go check it out.